I've heard of audience participation shows, but this is ridiculous.
Fridays are back. Hello, how are you? Missed you. Have you missed us? If you've missed us, don't worry. We're here. We're going to sort this out. Lots to talk about tonight. Before I go any further, I think Swappers, you've been watching the Cannonball Run, haven't you? Judging by that picture.
Oh, running all over her cannonballs.
I'll tell you something, that's a great scene when they get pulled up in the Lamborghini and you've got Adrienne Barbeau and she's pulling down her zip and she's going, "That won't work here, honey." I'll just love that scene.
Oh.
Shot down. Hello to the chat. How are you tonight? Franco was first, so well done to you. We've got Gavin Blackburn in there as well. And I'm sure other people will be joining us as we go along tonight. On the panel tonight, Oldest Gamer, Istaphobos, and of course, guest number one, Swappers. I hope you've all been all right. And I thought before we go any further, I'm going to do this because I said when we hit 1K, we would do the Pot Knacker 1K giveaway. I really should have had a bit of echo on that, but I didn't. Anyway, I spent the morning painstakingly writing everybody's name down. And then when my daughter came home from school, she pulled one out the bag for me. So without any further ado, the winner of a tray of Pot Knacker in the flavour of your choice, I highly recommend the Selby grill steak. That's not a bad flavour, is it, Swappers? Obviously, he's blown away with that. So anyway, without further ado, let's pull out the winner. Here we go. Tom Watson, 311. He's only got one sub, bless him. Interesting photo. Nice beard with the beads. Tom, if you can contact me at the email address on the channel's description, right? Contact us there and we'll figure out how to get you a tray of Pot Knackers. And that's really exciting. Thank you very much to Pot Knacker for doing that. Is everybody ready to proceed?
I think so.
Right. Yes, we are talking 10 years of Disney Star Wars. Franco says, congratulations, Tom. Indeed. Congratulations, Tom. Well, we'll get that to you. Hello to Sword, who's joined us. Let everybody know that the show has started and we can get as many people in tonight and have a good laugh about this. Just before we go any further, I know you're a big vocalist about the... oh dear, I hate to call it a trilogy because it's just a cash grab, and everybody knows it's a cash grab. But you're very vocal about this, aren't you, Swappers? Mind your P's and Q's.
I have been over the last 7 or 8 years now. Yeah, or is it no 10 years now? Actually, yeah, 10. I wasn't vocal about it with this movie. I thought it all had potential after this, but everything that came afterwards, with the exception of maybe Rogue One, good lordy lord,
it's a shitology.
It is, isn't it? Gamer, what do you think about the trilogy, the new one, if you can call it a trilogy?
I think Swappers is right. The first one had potential. But the potential ended when the film ended because I walked out and I'm like, I saw this film when I was a kid. This is the original Star Wars movie. It's just been rehashed. The Starbase, the killer, Star Killer Starbase is the Death Star. I mean, everything about the film. I'm like, oh, I paid how much money and I could have just watched the original film.
Yeah, I had a different I almost walked out of this movie 3 times.
Only 3.
In the opening minute, when Kylo freezes the blaster bolt, I'm like, listen, I've always called him JJ Kick It Up a Notch Abrams. That's all he does. He doesn't create anything. He just, I even the stuff other people like, I think shite, like Alias. The only thing I've liked of his was Cloverfield, and I put that up to an accident. But
I like not Cloverfield. I liked Alias. I thought that was really good. He did really good TV stuff, J.J. Abrams. I'll give him his fair dues.
Yeah. Lost was empty calories. It was hollow.
Well, it was in the end. Yeah.
It's easy to ask questions. It's harder to answer them. He never bothers to come. He doesn't have to answer them to the audience, but he needs to know himself what the answer is, because that informs where you go from there. Like, think of it like Pulp Fiction. What's in the briefcase?
Yeah.
If it's money, you got a crime gangster thriller. If it's plutonium, all of a sudden it turns into sort of an international spy thriller. Like, the director needs to know, even if the audience never gets told, if it's body parts, you have this medical, body horror movie. So, but here's the second point. When the Millennium Falcon's just abandoned on a freaking backwater planet.
Yeah. What was that about?
Accidentally run it. I'm like, okay, the contrivances were building up from the moment the movie ran. And then, of course, the Star Killer base take out 5 planets simultaneously in a row where you can see them all. I'm like, that was it for me. Like, the first 20 minutes when it was just Daisy Ridley, I had some hope. She was good. She was charming. She was charismatic. You kind of cared about her. But the moment she turned into Mary Sue, that was it for me. And if I wasn't with the kids, I probably would have hit a bar, man, even though I had been drinking 15 years at that point. Like, it was, I think this movie is actually worse than The Last Jedi. And I only thought it was good for about, because all of the setup is nonsense. The lightsaber thing, the contrivances, the coincidences, the lack of. Now, I get it. This is space fantasy. It's not science fiction. We have wings in space and all that stuff. But Star Wars, for the most part, is internally consistent. This movie is not. It's all over the place. It contradicts itself from scene to scene. And the only thing of value in this movie is one line. That's not how the Force works, because that describes this whole piece of shite movie.
That's when it became The Farce Awakens. And if you were living under a rock when this came out back nearly 10 years ago, it's got a few more days to go, but I thought we'd do it now. J.J. Abrams directed it. You can tell by the exorbitant amount of lens flare, written by Lawrence Kasdan, J.J. Abrams, and Michael Arndt. And, I thought this film had such potential. I went with the landlord of the local. We're both big Star Wars fans, and we came out scratching his heads. So it was released December 17th, 2015 in the UK. Budget, $533 million. They're Mickey Mouse bucks. Just a quickie, hello to Melvin Deeply. Help Desk has joined us too, Sword in the Storm. Thank you for joining us tonight, lads. Yeah, that is an insane amount of money. $533 million. That's crazy.
It made over $1 billion, I think, didn't it? I can't remember. Was it 2 billion, maybe?
Close to 2
There
billion.
we go.
There you go.
Box office was 2.071 billion, a total global return.
Well, that was going to be that anyway, because of the anticipation. I refuse to believe any of those words we got on screen came from Lawrence Kasdan. Sorry.
That just, I agree with you 100% there. It got the Star Wars name. It kind of looked a bit like Star Wars. It didn't smell or taste like Star Wars, in my opinion.
Sounded like it, but didn't smell or taste like it.
Yeah, and it started a trend of getting stuff that looks like the real thing, but doesn't feel or sound or act like the real thing. Like what's that? Alien Dumulus. Again, it looked like Alien, but that was as far as it went.
It's all right. I just had a knock on the door there. Somebody just stuck their head around the corner. Sorry, I totally missed that. I do apologize.
That's okay. I think this started the trend of things that look like other things, but don't sound and feel like Alien Dumulus look like Alien. But here's the thing is, we need some rebels. Okay, we'll call them the Resistance. But what the hell are they resisting? They're on the side of the established government, for God's sake.
They won, for goodness sake.
Yeah, none of it made any. That would be like, sort of.
At this point, they were superfluous to the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and are you telling me that fucking Han Solo just lost his car keys and abandoned the Falcon for 15, 20 years on a planet, and then it's like, hey, we're home. Well, you could have probably found it whenever you wanted. Like, where did you leave it last?
Right. It was like somebody else was flying it.
Yeah, Chewie, where did we park?
It's like, dude, where's my car movie combined with nothing about this.
You've just given me an idea for a spoof now. Dude, where's my Falcon? That would be, really fun, I think.
But do you see my point? Nothing about this movie made sense from scene to scene. You might have an exciting scene. It's like, I did enjoy the beginning with Daisy Ridley exploring and trying to survive. But from scene to scene where the movie takes you, well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, hey, I bypassed the compressor. Well, if you could do that, why do you have one in the... Like, I couldn't just randomly take parts out of my car and have it run better. What the hell?
Yeah, and a lot of these actors were underutilized, and the plot points that they brought to the story were quite moot, really. Finn, who was played by John Boyega, he was severely underused. I thought they could have done something with him and Oscar Isaac's character, because they got like that bromance going off. But they could have just had that and had them as the new, well, for want of an analogy, they could have been the new Han and Chewie. You know what I mean? Something could have developed out of that and been given something for us to root for. The established fans.
He was going to have force powers, or at least there was the subtext that maybe he's force sensitive too, and it never went anywhere.
Listen, it was just like Rogue One. Originally, it was going to be Donnie Yen and his buddy, but Kathleen Kennedy, no, we have to put a woman front and center. And same thing here.
You remember that T-shirt she was wearing at the time, don't you?
Yeah, but it wasn't just The Last Jedi that ruined Finn. This movie ruins Finn internally. He goes from a horrific experience as a child conscript and the blood and the death, and he's escaping. And then halfway to the movie, they're already treating him like a joke. So I do blame Rian Johnson, but he made Finn more of a joke, but he didn't start it. This movie itself treated Finn's experience as kind of a joke. And when you, like I said, from scene to scene, they don't fit.
Thank you, Gavin.
His experience was horrible in the first part of that movie. My God, he's covered in blood, and
it was harrowing for him, wasn't it? Yeah.
Existence. And then halfway through the movie, oh look, it's the black guy. Let's laugh.
Yeah, he became a joke, didn't he? Like he was just tacked on. And the whole thing about China, he was completely removed, wasn't he, in China?
Yeah. Well, that was after, but we know why that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, and I think Sword said with a few tweaks it could have been good, maybe more than a few, but at its best, it's still a soft reboot of Star Wars, and we have a better blueprint sitting around there in the form of the Thrawn trilogy, which would have made an epic, fantastic. We'd be sucking Disney's, right now.
Yeah,
and crazy.
That's what makes this so disappointing. Is they had the path. And even when we went to the film, we thought, well, maybe it's going to get there, because I had read some of the books. I'm like, okay, I get it. You flushed the expanded universe, but are you going to try and sneak some stuff in as they've done in later films, in television shows? And they never did. And I agree with this. The focus, man, the Thrawn trilogy books were the way to go.
A lot of wasted opportunities. Just a quickie, swappers. Your stuff, what you're doing with Star Wars, with the extended universe. Some of the best stuff, independent stuff I've seen. Do you want to just give yourself a quick plug while we're here?
Are you talking about Star Wars Retold by any chance? I appreciate the compliment there. Thank you very much. It's not, I guess you could call it expanded universe, but it's expanded from this movie. It basically sidesteps everything that came after this. After I saw this movie, I was quite happy with what I experienced, even though I felt like there was something missing and I couldn't put my finger on what. But I thought, wow, I can't wait for the next movie now, because this is a good setup right here. There's so many possibilities that could occur. There's so many directions they could go. This character could do this. This character could do that. We haven't seen Luke yet, so it's going to be obviously Luke heavy in the next movie. there's all these possibilities. The next movie could go anywhere and do anything. It could be fantastic. They've got the sky to shoot for right here. And then, of course, they went in the opposite direction because they were clueless as to what to do. So I basically had all these ideas. And if I do say so myself, they're actually genuinely really good ideas.
Yeah, they are.
Normally, I wouldn't really pay much attention to my own ideas other than the sketches and things like that. But I thought this is too good
what you very kindly and generously shared with me, and I've gone through it and I've like gone, this is bloody good. It really is what you're doing.
Was it that draft of the novel that I sent you, the PDF? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've basically, because I know what bit you read up to, so that's all in audio format now because I've put them all on my channel. But I've adapted my idea for episode 8, and I've done episode 9 as well. But that's still going through some final refination or whatever. Right? I'm just finalizing that story. But episode 8 is done, and I'm now chapter by chapter serializing it as a full cast audio drama, so as high quality as I can possibly get it as one person doing 10 people's jobs in episode format on my channel, and it's basically serializing all of episode 8, and it's completely taking the premise of The Last Jedi at the start, modifying it completely to make it make sense, and taking it in a completely new direction after a period of time. So the bit where Rey enters the dark side cave, that should be up to that point familiar with people that have seen everything so far. After that, completely new adventure with new characters, new places, you name it. So I've taken the ridiculous premise that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson gave us and turned it around on its head, put all my good ideas that I had for it into play, and started a decent story that would have been comparable to the original expanded universe, to that quality, I think myself anyway, and I hope that everyone's listening so far also thinks so, because there's a hell of a lot of work that's gone into it.
Every time I hear just as quickly, every time I hear that name Johnson, my blood boils a little tiny bit. Thank you to Melvin Deeply, who's put a link there. Star Wars Retold on YouTube.
Thanks,
all you have to do is go at Star Wars Retold, and you can check out some of the great stuff Swappers has been doing. And I really I'm really bowled over when you shared that with me, to be fair, Swaps, because I read it and I thought, wow, this is I'm not blowing smoke up your back doors. I'm serious with you. It's good stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Cheers.
So thank you to Mel for putting that link on. Hello to Brian for joining us. Esther, sorry about that. Go ahead, mate.
Okay. No, I appreciate how Swappers ignored everything in this movie that didn't make any sense. He took the ideas, but he avoided the execution, which is really the big problem in this movie. Also, if you're going to give someone a plug, shouldn't that be Z3PO?
Nice. Well, he's got all the plugs, hasn't he? He's fully functional and he's ready to go with any port in a storm.
Can I just say, I love not Brian's comment there. I will take that criticism on board, Brian. But it's one of my favorite scenes, and it's very difficult. It's like your own baby. You can't eliminate that from the final result. So, who doesn't need a soapy scene in their entertainment? So,
yeah, but this movie was doomed to fail. As long as Kennedy was at the helm, she was never going to allow a good writing and good story to take the lead, because she is not driven by storytelling. She's driven by ideology. And even if you have them both good, at some point it's always going to come into conflict, and you choose what your highest priority is, and hers would never be storytelling. So it was never going to be good.
She's not strong enough as a character. Just as a side note, we're an obliged sub to you, Swaps. There you go.
Well done, sir. Thank you very much.
And may your rise, no pun there, continue. Just before we go any further, Rig Tomato scores. What do you think Rig Tomatoes and their shill reviewers gave
I think everyone loved it, didn't they? Everyone loved this one because the viewers at the time and the critics all seemed to like it.
Yeah, 93.
There we go, 93%. So what do you think the popcornometer got? Esther's laughing. Something good's going to happen here. I can feel it.
No, I don't blame anyone for liking this, because on the surface, you're getting an experience similar to Star Wars. But if you really think about what's going on, that's when you realize that it's a house built on no foundation. And that, but on its surface, I still, like I said, I almost enjoyed the movie, but the stupid things really derailed me during the watching it. Like who are they resisting that? Like, and where does the First Order get a military machine 10 times bigger than the Empire?
Right.
Like when
And
the
nobody know
Empire
about
just
it. Yeah.
got dismantled. But like I said, there were some good ideas in here, but their first decision was to soft reboot Star Wars. So we were never going to get anything original and anything unique. And the second problem is that Kennedy will always insist on a woman being front and center, and which you can do. Like, there's plenty of, we're just talking about Long Kiss Goodnight, woman front and center, great film. But
thank you, Melv.
You can't take somebody else's story and then just graft on girl power onto it and make it work. It has to just start.
It's almost like in the writer's room, they came up with a really great story, and then Kathleen went in and went, like Lego pieces, just added her own bricks into the design. But Melvin Deeply, just 1 second. Melvin Deeply wrenched £5. He says it's fair to say any bad film could be made better with some tweaks, but this one really needs burn. There's too much wrong with it, I think, and I kind of agree with that. The premise, the setup's all right, and the premise ain't bad, but in the second act, the wheels start falling off at an impressive pace.
The fundamental flaw here is that they weren't going to go back to the original 3 characters and allow them to pass the torch. They were going to shove the new 3 into our face and make us insist that we like them. And so Luke wasn't even in this movie. That was my biggest problem with it. You're sitting there for 2.5 hours waiting for Luke to show up, and he never does until the very last second. And they even said every time we tried to put Luke on screen, he ends up dominating the movie. Well, that should have told them something.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. It should, that's the way they should have gone.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, Luke was the MacGuffin in this one.
Yeah. The other thing, Poe was supposed to die, and they ended up bringing him back without really retooling the script. It's like, we joke somehow Palpatine returned. Well, somehow Poe returned. They didn't even go and tweak the writing to make it reasonable and realistic or internally consistent that Poe would have survived. They're just like, let's throw him back in. And that's how all the mechanics of this film work. It's just sort of, and then he shows, and then Bob shows up, and then Carrie shows up. And
just a quickie. Sword in the Storm says there's a terrible trilogy of books that explain the origins of the First Order. It's called Aftermath. Anybody read that? Because I've not heard of that. To be fair,
I did. Yeah, Chuck Wendig's attempt at writing. Yeah, my stupid blind hypnosis at the time made me think it was actually a good story, and in hindsight, good Lord, is it crap? You go back, it's full of DEI and feminism and LGBT overtones, and all this shit is shoved in there. So obviously, he was the reason why they got him to write these prequel to the sequel movie novels. You actually read them through, and it's just shockingly bad. It really is, and this is one. I think it was the first Aftermath novel that gave birth to the immortally inane line "Hercule Jerkily" when he would describe how a TIE fighter flew across the desert. Yeah, it was just shockingly bad. So I mean, and he obviously showed his true colors as well, Chuck Wendig, with the fallout from The Last Jedi Online, which he tried to defend and then ended up getting himself cancelled at the same time.
It sounds about right in this day and age. Just quickly, the one thing that really did burn me, and I was just like, oh, blood boiling, was the massive disrespect to the original characters. Did anybody else get that vibe too? Yeah. From the get-go, it was just, we've got to disrespect these. These aren't credible. They're just figments of our imagination. They're myths. Let's move on and do something else. I thought that just was not fair to the whole arc of the Star Wars storyline.
Well, that was the way their retarded brains thought they could make us like the new ones by tearing down the old ones, and that never works. But again, it just goes to show this all started from a tainted soil. You can't take a bad idea and then retcon it to justify it. And that's what happens in all of Disney Star Wars. Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, let's find a writer who can make it make sense. And they're, instead of organically developing what's going to happen, you're taking something stupid and going back and writing series of books to try to justify it. There were 3 books when the prequels came out. I don't remember their names. They were prequels to each of the prequel movies. Like each book ended like right when the movie started, and they were really well done. They were better than the prequels.
Yeah. Really?
Because it shows there were good ideas in the prequels. That was a problem with execution too. I'm gonna find. I have them here. I'm gonna find the names. Yeah, but
that'd be cool. That I'd like to find out what it is you've been reading.
Yeah, they got knocked out of print when they decanonized all the EU, but you can still
I think I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, because I can't remember who it was. It might have been, I think, Nerdrotic who went on about that at one point. I'm sure he mentioned something about that. Previous message I put on the screen from Sword in the Storm, he said, I struggled to get through those books that we were talking about, the Aftermath. He says, the writing was awful. We're in a Bly says, yes, I have them. Please don't read them. That's a good advert. Brian says, Ray's introduction and musical theme is the best thing about this movie. A superb 2-minute montage surrounded by manure. I kind of like that. You know, you've got like the down Star Destroyer in the background, and there were some good vistas on Tatooine after the Empire crumbled.
Well, not Tatooine.
Was it not Tatooine?
Yeah, it's a different desert planet.
Oh, it's like Tatooine, but it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not.
That
Tatooine.
reminds me of that line from Austin Powers. It's Godzilla. No, it isn't, but it is. If you know what I mean. Right, we'll move on to the next one now, because my blood pressure's going up, and
I would say there's one final comment. Z made a comment earlier this week that I think holds true, because I saw this movie in the theater, and I believe he said he did too. He's only seen the movie once. I've only seen it once, but the original trilogy, the first movie, I think he said he's seen that movie 25 times. I've seen it a bunch of times too. That shows you how after the fact bad this film is because I've had no desire to rewatch the film, and other Star Wars fans haven't had the desire to rewatch this film either.
Yeah, I went to the cinema to see this, and I can honestly say I think I've seen it once more since, but I wouldn't go out my way to watch any of the trash trilogy, shall we call it. I have absolutely no desire to go back and give it a re-rub at all.
I think one of the books was called Cloak of Deception. And it ends right where Phantom Menace begins. And the second one has all these adventures of Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they end up, they wind them up and lead directly into the second movie. Like, they were really fun reads. When I find the titles and the author, I'll post them in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. So let's move on to this one. This one really, really does boil my waz. Are you ready? I don't like Rian Johnson at all. What an absolute buffoon. The Last Jedi. The one I reluctantly went to see, and I came out, and I'm surprised I had any teeth left because I was grinding my teeth all the way through this. Swappers, what did you think when you saw this for the first time?
So excited to go and watch this. I'd avoided all of the trailers, all of the TV spots, every single last bit of information on the internet or in any press anywhere, because I thought that this could be an absolutely epic movie from how the last one ended. We all wanted, we all were desperate to see Luke again. What was going to be his first words after all this time? What was he going to say to Rey? Does he know her? What's going to be going through his mind when he sees his lightsaber? There's so many questions that were set up. And it was a big build up to this movie. I didn't see it on opening weekend. I think it was a week in, maybe 2 weeks in, because there was so much going on. I wanted to set aside a night when I wasn't rushed and there wasn't going to be nothing in my way. Got a couple of mates to go with me. We all went, super excited, took lightsabers with us. We were in the lobby of the cinema, like dancing around, playing lightsabers with each other and stuff. And it was super excited to watch this. We went in expecting the best. And I got halfway through the film and I thought, right, so all of the things that we were expecting to see that the last movie set up have not happened yet. And we're halfway through. I thought, give it time. They could be about to pull a massive switcheroo on us at any moment. This is what Star Wars is known for, after all, having a good old plot twist in there somewhere. Maybe they're going to do that. And then, but the end of the film came, and we still hadn't seen any of it. And I was just looking at my watch, going, "Surely, what on earth is going on? They can't cram everything into the last 5 minutes." And then we just saw Luke fade away like a fucking piece of arse gas on a stone. And I just looked at the floor and just went, "Well, that's it then. That's it. It's all over." They purposely didn't do everything we wanted to do because we wanted it. And my heart sank. And we walked out the cinema. The place was silent. Not one person was speaking. There was about 80 other people in there with us. Not one person was. It was just silence walking out of the cinema. Absolute silence. Normally, when you've seen a good film, everyone's buzzing about it. They're all chatting, And all the way home in the car, we didn't speak to each other. And then a day later, it all kind of dawned on us that how crap it was. And, it took us so long to try and process the information because we couldn't figure out whether we liked it or not.
Yeah.
And then it all settled in and we realized that we'd all been had, basically. Yeah. And then all the anger started spewing out of everybody. And this is when friendships ended. This is when people stopped speaking to each other. I bundled all of my memorabilia that I'd accumulated over the past 2 or 3 years with The Force Awakens and everything, bundled it all into a bin bag, took it down to the charity shop and handed it over. Everything vanished. Everything.
For real?
I just didn't want to see.
Did you really do that?
Oh yeah, I did. I had a Christmas tree set up in my house because obviously these movies were set each Christmas, weren't they?
Yeah.
And I purposely bought a black Christmas tree. I can show you pictures of this later, right? Black Christmas tree, set up in my window with a Kylo Ren mask on the top, a cloak, gloves on it, and it looked like Kylo Ren. And it had the mask on it, and I had a cheap Disney color and lightsaber that was lit up on it and everything. I was so into this, the new trilogy, wanting it to work and looking forward to everything that it was going to offer us. And I just stood there and looked at it. I just went, what a heap of shit. And I just took pardon my French, and I took all this stuff off the tree and I just stuck it in a bag. I had BB-8 mugs, I had Stormtrooper mugs, the new type of Stormtrooper, Apple Eye Trooper, as I call them. There's all like a few Force Awakens figures, things like that were dotted around. People had bought me as presents previous years. Every books, you name it, to do with a new trilogy, just went all in a bin bag, tied it up, took it down, never spoke of it for like a week afterwards. I was just fuming, and it was my kind of cathartic sort of therapy to try and purge it from my mind. And then I was like angry, looking for other like-minded people that thought it was shit as well, because we did nothing else in the media was telling us how bad this film was. Everyone was gaslighting us to tell us how good it was. And I was like, no, this isn't right. This isn't true. This film is a pile of shit. And everyone was telling me that I was this and I was that for not liking it. I was like, I can't fucking accept this. And it was driving me fucking insane, right? Because we were being gaslit. Everyone that didn't like it was being gaslit. And we realize now we were all being gaslit by the media. And it was only when I found certain channels and people, and like Mr. Brown, yourself, Brian, Mega Geek, all these other people, that we all knew that it was shit. And we were online talking about it, and we didn't hold back, and we just, we could actually voice our minds about it. It was like, yes, there are other people out there that share this opinion. Why are we being silenced like this? It was unprecedented. We'd never seen anything like it before. Suddenly we were all Nazis, we were all this, we were all that, we were all misogynists. It was like, where has all this come from? From just not liking a film? I don't understand it. And this is where the culture war took a turn, and just went off like a steam train. And from this point onwards, the world changed, and in a bad way. Not like the world changed in 1977 for the best because of Star Wars. This was the exact opposite when this film came out. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Sorry to go on a bit, but that's
happened. All right. Don't hold back at all. Let's have another factoid. Released December 15th, 2017 in the UK, at a budget of $300 million. How much do you think it made back at the box? Esther, have an educated guess.
Oh, like $1.5 billion, I think. Much less than maybe 1.3 billion.
Yeah, there you go. It's on screen now. 1.334 billion.
And what Swappers did, I did after The Force Awakens. I had some very expensive prop replicas. I had a Han Solo blaster from Master Replica, a Stormtrooper rifle, and a lightsaber.
Nice.
I bought them each in the range just under $1,000, but because I sold them early, I got a lot of money for them because Star Wars fever was still high. If I had waited to The Last Jedi, I would have taken a bath, I think. So, but I did listen. My thought in this, I'm not even sure. I I didn't finish the movie. I've watched it in parts, but why didn't they just put everyone on the Falcon and fly away and rescue and send the ship on to some red herring planet? If they can leave and come back so easily, but who thinks that the middle movie of a space adventure franchise would be served by a low speed chase for 3.5 freaking hours?
Totally agree. Rigged Tomato scores. Let's see if this one's the divisive one in the middle.
Oh, I love that. Rigged Tomatoes. I haven't heard that. That's perfect.
Yeah, I've been calling it that for a while, to be fair, especially with all the Disney stuff.
It's your accent. I didn't.
Well, have you noticed how it's all gone quiet about Tron Ares, how much that's made, and everything's disappeared? And then Predator Badlands, that all went pear-shaped too. Disney's been very quiet. So, yeah, this was a true reflection of what fans really felt. Popcorn meter 41%, but the shills were really flying high with 91%. Gamer, what do you think about The Last Jedi? Because you've been very quiet up to press.
The experience, I think, depends on on the age too. Like that 41%, I thought that was high, but I'll use my son as the lever. There are parts of this that he liked, but you're talking about Gen Z versus Gen X, and my experience leaving the theater was similar to Swappers, that there wasn't a lot of chat. And then finally it's like, all right, what did you think? And it's like, well, it was okay. And I was just steaming because of how they portrayed Luke Skywalker. And my point of view was coming from the games, the Force Unleashed, the Jedi Knight games, where Luke was reconstituting, the Jedi Council and the Jedi themselves. So when we accept the premise that all of the people he was training were killed and he just became this brooding person, he's still talking to Force ghosts like Yoda and Obi-Wan. There's no way they're going to let him do this because he's it. And so you have Leia in the film, and she's got powers that, okay, suddenly she's got powers and she can do things that, whatever. But I don't believe for a second that Yoda and Obi-Wan were going to let him just flush everything. Screw it. I screwed up, and now I'm it. And once I'm gone, there's no more Jedi. The other part of the film that I found infuriating was the lightsaber fight in the throne room, or what do you want to call it, with Snoke. I thought the whole premise was absurd, that we're going to somehow trick him that, okay, we're going to do this battle, and somehow I'm just going to like use my force powers to throw a lightsaber through him, but he's not going to be able to stop it. For me it was a 0 out of 10, but I'm going to be that way with all of the three films, not like Rogue One and some of the other stuff, but this was just a dreadful film for me.
It was terrible for everybody. You're not on your own, because this film was a complete joke for fans who were established, and it was just a betrayal of Luke. They turned around and made Luke something he wasn't, and that was just a loser who'd given up. I mean, the whole thing at the beginning of the film where he chucked the lightsaber over his shoulder, I should have known that was a red flag.
Well, and then Rey's powers. She's like leveling up just by, I'm going to concentrate, and suddenly I can do everything. And I was just so incensed. Again, I haven't read all the books like others, post the original films, but I've read some of them. And I just go by, again, some of the games and everything, that this isn't how things would have turned out. So you're retconning Luke into a total loser. Like I say, the whole chucking of the lightsaber. Well, okay, you've got Rey showing up, and she's force sensitive, and in theory you're supposed to train her. What are you doing chucking your lightsaber into the ocean for? It's just antithetical to what he was. And so all the life that I would have had for Star Wars was gone at this point. that I was one of these people who's like, okay, I'm just gonna live in the expanded universe, and the rest of this is just all fake science fiction.
And yet, Rian Johnson pats himself on the back about this film. He even wanted.
Yeah.
There were rumors that he wanted to do another one.
Wasn't
Disney
he in
would be
line to
mad.
do another trilogy? At least in theory.
Yeah. Disney would be absolutely crazy to do that.
Yeah.
I have to believe that he knows he failed, and it burns him and eats him up every day. He's putting on a brave face, but the guy knows he's a loser. Losers know he knows.
Yeah, but he's failing upwards all the time.
I know. It is very frustrating to see, which is why you have to take comfort in the fact that he knows he doesn't have the chops. The thing about this movie, though, I am very grateful that it exists.
Well, it's a metric of a really bad Star Wars film.
No, it made me understand there's that they call when you're an expert in a field and you hear somebody talk about it and you realize they don't understand, but then when you hear them talk about something else, you all of a sudden believe them again. It's like a Barlow amnesia or something like that. Like I didn't trust the media when they were talking about stuff that I understood, but it took me this movie to realize that the entire media apparatus only exists to gaslight the entire population. I think my entire worldview was informed by my experiences from this movie and then Star Trek Discovery and then
yes. Yep.
Now that's another rabbit hole. But as gaslighting goes, I'd never seen it done en masse so aggressively by a lot of people. If you didn't like this film, you're the problem. No, bad writing, bad acting in places, very bad direction, but that's our fault. How do you work that out? How can you turn around and say to paying customers, you're the problem?
I remember having conversations in my office about this film. Was it Swap person saying, like you're kind of out on the ledge? I remember coming back, telling people, okay, how'd you like the film? I'm like, just how I said it before, it was dreadful. Well, how can you say that? There were, the lightsaber scenes and this and that and Luke. And I'm like, no, it was a similar conversation I had with the Star Trek films that somehow I was the problem. No, I'm not the problem. I'm actually a fan. You're saying that you're a fan, but this is, objectively a terrible film. It is not a Star Wars film. And I don't know if this is when it started, but I know we were mentioning how, people started watching folks on YouTube to kind of validate ourselves. I don't know if this is when I first started watching folks like Drinker and Nerdrotic and stuff, but that's where I started like, okay, I'm not insane. There are other people like me that are objectively saying that this is trash,
And Trev, that's exactly my point, is that they overstepped on this movie. They took it so far. That's when it really opened my eyes. And I realized, once you spot one lie, all the others just come falling down, right?
Exactly.
So this was the big lie that opened my eyes. It's called Gell-Mann amnesia, by the way. It's a real phenomenon. You can look it up. And it illustrates the phenomenon where you trust somebody that you shouldn't be trusting, because when you talk about something you realize how stupid they are, and so but you forget. So, but
it's horrible when us as established fans, they don't make this film for us. They try and make the first one as a bit of a lead-in. But it was all bait and switch, more bait and switch. And then the premise got more and more ridiculous with each passing film. Just a quick catch up with the chat. Brian in there, he says he's still got a Kylo Ren Force FX lightsaber. Do you know, I have got a couple of lightsabers, but they're hand-me-downs from my kids. I always wanted to build one, with the flash. It's an old flash tube, isn't it?
It's from a Speed Graphic. It's the I forget the name, Boomerang, but it's from the Speed Graphic camera, Graflex. It's a Graflex flash.
Oh, Teague's with us in the chat. Hello, Teague. Hello, everybody. Melvin says Forsaken tomatoes.
Yeah,
punchable faces in there as well.
I actually like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. I mean, conceptually, it's not a terrible idea.
It's not bad, but I think it takes a good idea and takes it a little bit too far in the wrong direction.
That's kicking up a notch, JJ again.
Well, yeah, kick it up. But I mean, conceptually, the reason you'd have the tea like that is to prevent what happened to what's his face, Christopher Lee's character.
Yeah, but the
Count
blades. Dooku. The blades
Count
on
Dooku,
a saber bind, they don't slide like on a real sword, so you don't really need a blade guard, a hilt, because if you hit a saber obliquely, they stick. They don't slide down, so you don't really need that. What happened to Dooku was he actually turned the saber around and flipped it, and kind of a hilt wouldn't have prevented what happened to him.
No, that's true.
Also, swords are based on human anatomy. So you see that from the Mr. Plinkett thing, that guy with the really long neck, it's like, how comfortably you think that guy feels around a lightsaber? The 3-foot neck. He would probably choose a different weapon. So.
Well, Brian says, Graflex handle. You were right. Yeah, spot on. And I bet you any money, if people like on the RP forums, I bet they're paying insane money for these things just to build props.
You used to be able to get them really cheap. The one I had was made from a Graflex, and it had the inside crystal. You could open up the door and it's vibrating and it made sounds. It cost about $1,000.
Sure, this is the lightsaber you're talking about. I'm getting a bit worried.
No, I sold it for like 4 times what I paid for it. So,
well, that's good. That's a good thing. I mean, if you made your money back in a little bit more. What's this from Graham? He says, apparently in canon, where Kylo's force bled his kyber crystal, it broke, and it had to vent the excess out the sides of the handles so it didn't explode.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. A stupid explanation for a stupid idea that shouldn't have had to be there in the first place.
Dodding Face says Disney did indeed ruin Star Wars. I think it's a culmination of failures by a lot of people. Especially, I blame Kathleen Kennedy. Rian Johnson, he's up there with the worst of them in this case. I mean, he wrote and directed this pile of garbage, and he just completely crapped all over Luke Skywalker. How can you do that?
Well, again, because they don't want that. They want to fix the problems with the original stories. They're too problematic. They want to ruin those characters and force us to love their interpretation, which is the only correct one.
What happened to the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it?
Well, they think it's broken. That's the point. It's too patriarchal. It's too Istophobic.
Oh, I forgot the farce is female, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing about this movie is it's completely reactionary. If you crowdsource, several million people, they're going to come up with every possible idea under the sun. But when Ryan saw somebody thought about something, he's like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to do that. So in the end, he was only left with the ideas that were so stupid. Millions of Redditors wouldn't even put it in writing.
Swappers, you're very quiet on this. I thought this was your favorite one to vent your spleen at.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is.
Just be careful of the colourful metaphors, though, because the new AI doesn't like hurty words. So
I have to reel myself in a lot on this, because I can go into like a blind rage and just be lost, like a runaway train. And I just can't
use the force, Luke. Use the force.
Forcing was that's generally what I do. This film's just summed up as being incredibly dumb all the way through. One of the things I used to love Star Wars for, even the prequels, which were not great, but it was always intelligent to some degree. It always had multi layers to it. It was really smartly done. The whole premise of it was genius. The whole concept of the Force, all these different not factions of people, but groups of characters. You had your good guys, bad guys, non-partisan guys. You had gangsters, you had pirates, and all these grey areas in between. And this whole amazing tapestry of places and locations and planets and designs and ships and everything. And it was incredibly well thought out and a genius world building scenario for any franchise out there, one of the greatest. And a lot of the EU stories, the games, the Timothy Zahn books, and a lot of other expanded universe stuff as well, the Dark Horse comics, you name it, incredibly well written and devised and plotted and designed, all of them, with amazing intelligence behind all of them. The EU had so much respect put into it from people that genuinely loved the franchise, and whenever you read any of that stuff, you could tell the reverence in every word. And you loved it for that, because they all kind of respected each other's work and everything fitted together, or pretty much everything. Even the obscure games took reference from obscure novels, and you could then go off and look for these other novels and read them and see references to other things and go on this journey of how all these things link together. And it was unfathomably great, all of it, that way it was all fitted together, this huge puzzle, this massive tapestry. And then this film comes along and just drops an A-bomb of dumb on the whole thing. And it just moronic, absolutely moronic. And what really aggravated me more than anything else, more than the film, was the fact there are people out there praising this, right? There are people out there saying, oh, it's the best Star Wars movie ever. Oh my God, I love this so much. Rian Johnson's a genius. This was amazing. Not Ice Planet, the Salt Planet was amazing. The designs of this were amazing. The fight scene in the throne room was amazing. Killing Snoke off, the idea of doing that was amazing. I was like, what the
Hey, they were just doing their job.
This is how democracy dies, through thunderous applause, right? That phrase was never more appropriate.
Yeah, well, they were just doing their job, man. They were paid to praise it. Nobody really liked this thing, but they did catch some useful idiots on the way up to doing that.
Yeah,
that's been the biggest excuse in history for people getting it completely wrong, saying that they were just doing their job. That is not a valid excuse.
Oh, no, but it is an explanation. That's my point. See, I don't think for a second these people, who's that twat on Twitter, Jacob, I don't believe for a second that he really likes that stuff. He's not he's not that stupid, because he can form real actual sentences. But
not
he
getting involved.
Yeah. But he's an excellent troll. He knows exactly what to say to rile up the fans. But here's the thing. You can't subvert expectations when you're the one that created the expectations to begin with. You can put some red herrings in a good mystery, but it's not fair to say, haha, see, you're wrong. You thought, well, yeah, because you're the one that set it up to do that in the first place. That's just it's not just cheap writing, it's bad writing. It's it's discontinuous writing.
It was what they called, it was a film full of gotchas, wasn't it? All the way through.
Yeah.
It was like, we're setting you up for this reveal, and you think this is going to happen. And no, that's not what's going to happen. Gotcha. And it was
a lot of rug pulling all the way through, and that's through bad writing, because he thought, hang on a minute, how do I get myself out of this plot hole? I don't know how to do that effectively. Hang on a minute, misdirection. I'll get people over here. Don't look what I'm doing. Look what's happening over here. And it was just rug after rug after rug. Sword in the Storm says Dark Empire's comics brought Palpatine back in a much better way, and I agree with that.
They did. I love those. I absolutely love those. And the reason why that worked in those comics was because Palpatine was vanquished by Anakin indirectly. So the original, the Rise of Skywalker ruined it because they gave everything to Rey. They gave everyone's accomplishments to Rey. Whereas in
a complete retcon again.
Yeah, in Dark Empire, it was Anakin's children that did it. So it was still Anakin in a way. So it worked, But Disney just couldn't understand that.
Do you know they did not respect anything that came before their version of Star Wars?
Oh,
it was
absolutely not.
All the extended universe, everything before that, even Droids, the cartoon that was so bad it was good.
Yeah,
everything that came before was just totally ignored. And to quote somebody on YouTube, it was just full of the message.
Yeah, they're not intelligent gotchas, and that's what separates it from a good red herring where there's always a clue. But you can look at his Knives Out movies and see he cheats. When they do the flashback scenes, they put stuff that wasn't there in the original scene. He's not smart enough to actually write a good mystery, so he has to cheat.
If you notice, as an analogy, the way he wrote this, instead of crossing a river on stepping stones, instead of crossing one at a time, he do a leap of about 3 or 4 and miss out important things, you know? So it'd go from 1 to 4 and miss out steps 2 and 3. And that left big gaps, big plot holes, a lot of supposition and all that malarkey. But he didn't go back and fill in the gaps. It was like, oh, well, let's move on to this next thing. Oh, and then we'll move on to this. Yeah, again, like I say, he wrote himself into some tight corners. And he just rhubarbed his way out of everything he got himself stuck with.
The movie started out with a "your mama" joke. What do you like?
Yeah,
It's like Poe's coming in, he's going to do something real cool, and then he says a "yo mama" joke. And those bombers, like, in what universe would that thing ever? We already had bombers; those are the Y-wings. In what universe would these slow ass little freaking things that
like,
take forever to? They would have been destroyed the first time they ever tried to use them.
It was like a really bad take on a B-wing, if anything, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just, what the hell?
Well, Ryan heard that George looked at some World War II footage and he found some dogfights and he made the X-Wing. So Ryan goes to some World War II footage and sees some slow-ass B-29 bombers and thinks, yeah, I'll do that. The ones that get shot down all the time.
Hail Atom Gray. Absolute farce, he says.
Yep.
Gavin Blackburn says Swappers brought Palpatine back in a far better way.
Yes, well, they tend to like cream cakes an awful lot, and jam tarts, and manor house cake, and
Basil brush.
sugary delights, such as those things. I wasn't brought back as a terrible clone either, but with my own bakery on the Death Star.
Can I ask a question? Did you used to ring my mum up at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask her what colour underwear she had on?
No, actually, that was Basil Brush, but we do get confused an awful lot.
Yeah. Would anybody be cross if I said, let's just ditch this and go to the next one?
Oh, my, yes.
This film just
bothered for a second.
It's boiling my urine past the point. So, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Oh, God. Released December 19th, 2019 in the UK. A budget of 593.7 million gross. At the box office, just over 1 billion. Crikey. How's it? These films are bad. How are they making such money? Rig Tomato says, the tomatometer says 51%, which is well deserved. But the popcornometer says 86. How the hell does that even work?
I love
$1 billion. They lost money because marketing, they have to make 1.5 times earnings. So you're probably looking at like $1.7 billion.
If you give me $1 billion, I can gross 500 million easily. I only have to lose half of it. Like
Solo still lost money. Just saying.
I love this movie though, because this movie is incontrovertible proof that everything we were saying about The Last Jedi was true. Otherwise, this movie wouldn't have existed in the way that it does.
Yeah, but it's total manure.
Oh, it is manure, but it's anti-Last Jedi manure, which just goes to prove that everything we had been saying about it was absolutely correct. Because if it was truly the masterpiece they thought it would, they would have built off that movie instead of canceling it.
Do you think it was JJ getting back at him because he wrote the screenplay with, was it Chris Terrio, if I remember right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So maybe it was JJ having a dig at Ryan Johnson. You never know.
No, I don't think there was animosity. I think it was just JJ trying to fix everything he knew that was a problem with the previous movie.
There is definitely something wrong with this movie. A lot wrong. I mean, especially My Little Pony riding on Star Destroyers at the end. Hello, what was that even about?
Oh, and
the Millennium Falcon, the whole, I'm just going to throw the throttle and then pull it back multiple times and I'm going to be in different locations. There's no consequences like planetary gravity or, like from the original film, hey, kind of ruin your day if you went into a supernova. There's no consequences to their actions with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And
I've been saying that online for a long time, and I'm glad you agree with me on that one because that is exactly
why weren't you doing that through the whole trilogy? Also, let's pay Kerry Russell $2 million to not show her face. Like they could have had
worst.
Had a screen. Like this was nothing but a huge money redistribution scheme for those guys in Hollywood to set up all their friends and maybe get some kickbacks, allegedly. Why would you pay A-list type of money when you could have an extra in the suit doing the same exact thing? It wasn't even her voice.
Yeah. Oh, do you know, we have every right to feel disgruntled about these new incarnations of Star Wars, because it took everything that we grew up with, that we loved, that was original, that was fresh back in the 70s and 80s, and it just takes a massive dump on everything from a very great height.
It's indicative of a lot of the stuff from our childhood that it's all essentially been taken away. I mean, we have our memories and we can go back and watch this stuff, but essentially, like, yeah, you like Luke Skywalker? Yeah, that's too bad. You know, yeah, Darth Vader is a really cool villain. Well, guess what? I'm gonna give you one that's even worse. You know, it's infuriating. I mean, the remakes of television shows and all of our movies, you know, like say even with these, it had potential, but no, I'm going to rewrite basically Star Wars and put it out as something fresh. I'm going to destroy Luke Skywalker, and then the icing on the cake is I'm going to destroy everything about our own universe from a canon standpoint, because it's our canon now, because we can't use the expanded universe like I mentioned before with the Millennium Falcon. We're going to do whatever we want because we can, and it's just infuriating.
Did you notice this was pretty much like a big leap in member berries?
Yep.
The amount of member berries in this film was just ridiculous. And yet again, you know, Finn and Poe underutilized because they have penises, I think. Yeah. I think that was the main issue with that film. But there was a lot wrong with this. I mean,
here's the thing. I can say all day long that I don't care. I'll just pretend these doesn't exist. It's like there's only 2 Predator movies kind of thing. But it did kill my enthusiasm for the entire franchise. And I don't even go back and watch the originals anymore.
I mean, there's a lot of kids now. I don't know who this was particularly aimed at generation-wise, because my kids love the original 3 movies. And I will say our Star Wars. They love that. I mean, we always watch it around this time of year. We're doing Star Wars tomorrow. Now it's called A New Hope, but Star Wars tomorrow. Then the following Sunday we'll do Empire, and then obviously the original version of Jedi. But I'm not watching the reimagined versions that George Lucas re-released. I'm going to watch the Swappers, you'll tell me what they are. The 77 cut and crikey, go on. The recut, remastered ones.
The
specialized.
The specialized editions, is that right?
Yeah. They're the ones that we're watching, because you know there were the only benefit that I saw in the first 3 films that really benefited from the extra scenes was Empire Strikes Back, and that was the Cloud City scenes where you saw more of the external vistas around Cloud City. Not all of them, though. A lot of them just didn't need to be there. You know, just get some extras to stand there and look what's coming over a tannoy. I mean, that was just rubbish. I mean, George Lucas wasted so much money, time, and effort trying to give us his true vision of those movies, but there was no need to. We were happy with what we got. We didn't want any more at that point. Just a cash grab.
That was visual effects in the service of nothing, which is what he used to take a stand against.
So he became the exact, opposite of what he stood for when he started making films. The George Lucas who made Star Wars is very different to the George Lucas who sold Star Wars.
Yeah, well, he used to fight against the studio system, and then he became the studio system, firing anybody who contradicted him or disagreed with him at all. People were terrified to work at Lucasfilm during the prequel era, because even if you had a great idea, if it wasn't what he asked for, he would just fire that person.
Nice guy. Well, Atom Gray makes a very good statement here. Proof he doesn't understand his own material. Finally, Gamer, anything to add to this?
You were making an interesting comment, about the additions to the old films. If you can probably pick and choose, the explosion of the Death Star, I think, is improved by the digital enhancements as opposed to just the explosion of sparks.
The one that they stole from Star Trek 6, they call that the Praxis effect.
Yes, it is the Praxis effect, but it does work better for an exploding Death Star than what
it does
originally.
Indeed. But you saw it on Star Trek First, ladies and gentlemen, in the undiscovered country.
This film, it killed me until Rogue One came out, that I was basically finished with anything Star Wars, including LucasArts. The ending scenes with Palpatine, I don't mind so much that he came back. I don't like the way they brought him back, and I'm unfamiliar with the dark with the was it the dark? Is it Dark Horse Comics? Which comics brought him back?
Swappers.
The Lizard.
It wasn't Dark. Swappers.
Which one?
The Lizard. Did you say? Sorry.
How they brought back Palpatine? Which comics brought him back?
Oh, brought Palpatine back. Dark Empire.
Dark Empire, thank you. That I didn't get a chance to read those, but the way they brought him back, and then it was just the finish off, that, I'm Ray Palpatine. No, or Ray Skywalker. It's like, no, you're Ray Palpatine, and that's how I walked out of the theater. I was just, even my son, this was like the final straw for him. It's just like, no, this is not good.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick wrap up of this. Gamer, did Disney ruin Star Wars in 10 years or less?
Yes, I refer to it as Disney Star Wars, and I think most people do. That it's completely separate from what came before. So I would say yes.
Ister, did Disney ruin Star Wars in 10 years or less?
Well, they ruined it in 2 years, but in every way, shape, or form, they bought this specifically to appeal to the boys that were outside their usual demographic, and they end up turning it into a girl brand. How stupid is that?
Yeah, they massively regretted that one. Swappers, I already know your answer. Did Disney ruin Star Wars in 10 years or less?
You might be surprised, actually. They ruined any chance of their own making it their own. They didn't ruin Star Wars as it was, because we'll always have those films. We'll always have what Star Wars was before Disney. That will always still be there. The merchandise, the movies, all of that stuff will still exist without their interference. We'll always have that. If nothing was made after 2015 or whatever it was, nothing would be different. So you've just got to compartmentalize that this is all kind of like, bargain store BS.
It's not even that.
It's got nothing to do with the originals, and as long as you can just enjoy the originals for what they are without any of this tainting it, then it hasn't ruined anything. They've only ruined their own prospects and their own material, because they set it up well and they just tainted it completely from that point onwards, and then they're just left with ashes now. So they've only ruined it for themselves and their own fans. They haven't ruined it for everyone else. All you've got to do is just remember that all the great stuff is still there. You just got to not let this stuff get in the way and just put it out of your mind. And you can still go back and appreciate all that EU stuff. I mean, even write your own stories if you want, like I did. You don't have to acknowledge any of this Disney crap whatsoever.
Well, that's where I have to disagree with Swappers, because I'm not really capable of completely forgetting it. It has ruined a large part of my enthusiasm for even the original stuff. That's a character flaw of mine, maybe. But I can't put it out of my mind, and I can't put out the idea that, the studio hates its own fans and calls us bad names for recognizing shitty movies.
And then gaslights you, has the audacity to gaslight you for not liking what they gave you. Where does it say, as a paying cinema goer, if you watch this film, you automatically have to like it, otherwise you're a insert, buzzword here. Just a quickie before we wrap up. I've got to admit, Admiral Wick looks very dashing in that uniform, Gamer.
Oh, thank you.
Time for a quick commercial break. When we come back in just a second, we'll be looking at another kind of war, but this time studio wars.
B-Sides has movies so good, it makes you want to kick your TV.
B-Sides tonight at 6 Pacific time. Apparently it's finally happening. where they're showing Roger Corman's It Conquered the World. Looking forward to that. I might actually stay up a little bit later for that tonight. On the panel with Babs and Atom, Professor R2, Smilex. So that should be all good stuff. And I'm looking forward to that. 6 p.m. Pacific time. And that's 2 a.m. UK time. You were saying?
B-Sides is a good example. See, they can take old movies and make them better in the same way that Disney took good movies and made them worse.
There is parallels there, but I think B-Sides does it in the way which we actually enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. But the concept is still there. You can retroactively change people's perception of something.
We're going to talk soon about the importance of physical media. Why are you talking about the importance of physical media? Well, something that garnered a lot of attention at the back end of last week. I didn't have much time to chat about it. Obviously, Just Great Movies is a different show altogether. But I want to talk about Netflix and Warner Brothers and now Paramount. There's a battle royale going off in Tinseltown. Apparently, Netflix put a bid in on December the 5th for an insane amount of money, $82.7 billion to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. And then Paramount on the 8th put $108.4 billion in. So what the hell's going off? There's a big battle now to get hold of all these old titles, old bits of media and whatnot. The battle is on to get everything onto a streaming platform. Now, personally, for me, I think streaming platforms serve a purpose if you have no access to physical media, but then they've got you by the nuts. I like Star Trek. And I've been watching Star Trek recently. I've been binge watching on Netflix, and they're taking Star Trek off the platform on the 8th of January, 2026. So you're at the mercy of when these companies have got the rights to actually show that content. So that's why I think we need to have a bit of a discussion when we've done talking about this whole malarkey with Netflix and Paramount, the importance of owning physical media.
Yeah, you're also at the mercy if they decide to edit or censor or change something.
How many things have you seen on Netflix now where there's an apology? This was made in a time where this was acceptable. This film may contain sexist themes.
I think you need to put one of those on the start of your streams, by the way.
What, a disclaimer for this show?
Yeah, because I don't think I'm acceptable at all. So.
Well, there is a disclaimer on this one. The other one there isn't, but this one's definitely got a disclaimer on it. Although we have toned it down recently, things are changing. I'm thinking of a Bob Dylan song, if anybody wants to fill in the gap.
There's a lot more going on with this. Like Netflix's bid wasn't in all cash, and part of that number makes an assumption that some of the leftover stocks from their spun-off division will have the value that they say it does, and that's not a guarantee.
No.
There was also the huge issue of Netflix. After the Netflix exclusive bid, Zaslav ignored a Paramount bid that was actually higher. So when you hear people like Chunky Yogurt, Sink Uger saying, hey, they offered the most money, they should get the bid. They actually didn't offer the most money, and Zaslav didn't take the last Paramount bid to the shareholders, and the board sort of hid it away, and he ghosted Paramount. Now, for that
was their last offer cash? Was Paramount? I was trying to explain this to my son. I thought, and I could be wrong, I thought their last offer was $30 per share, actual cash.
I thought it's $27.75.
Or is that Netflix's offer? The $27.75.
Yeah,
no, that was the last public offer, but they had a bid. They had submitted a bid higher that got ignored. That's my point.
Paramount's last offer was $30 per share.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And theirs was cash. And again, my understanding might be wrong, but that Netflix's wasn't all cash. That however they were structuring it, that that $82 billion isn't cash. It's however they've
stocks and
together.
whatnot. Yeah, it's all a lot of business bluff and bluster So I think a lot of this, what's going across, is based on valuations, not actual real liquid cash.
Exactly. And also we lose no matter what, because it would be best for us if, but Warner Brothers have been so mismanaged, and they're in so much debt that they can't really survive on their own. And so no matter who buys them, we're going to get consolidation, which rarely, if ever, works out to the benefit of the consumer. But I would still rather have, to me, Netflix is the bottom of the barrel content quality wise. And I would rather have anybody but Netflix owning a major studio, especially one so historical and beloved with so much of IP that we're invested in.
I
the
agree with
conversations
that.
I've had, the lesser of two evils, I'd rather have Skydance Paramount buy.
Yeah, well, at least they've been established in the industry for quite some time. Netflix is the relative new kid on the block, along with Amazon. But I'm not particularly impressed with Amazon, although they have scored brownie points by bringing Stargate back. I'm looking forward to that, and I bet you are, Gamer, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna have to wait though. I bet you we're not gonna get a series until 2027.
Well, there is a video online. Martin Gero does give you a timeline of what's happening production-wise now. He knows a bit more now.
But there's gonna be like a 1-year wind-up, isn't there? Because they're hiring writers and everything.
Well, the writing staff he's putting the band back together by the sounds of things.
I mean, we've got
we've got Joe Malozzi, Brad Wright.
Yep.
So there'll be a wealth of Stargate alumni which are going to come into the mix, and they're all going to contribute. But that, for me, that strikes a personal chord with me. But Netflix doesn't seem to be doing that with any of their stuff. If anything, the only thing Netflix has done over the last 7 years is cause controversy. By bringing the message into programming where it's not needed, especially targeting children's programming heavily.
What's funny is I actually checked, because I'm checking my apps on my PlayStation. I haven't had Netflix in over 2.5 years. They used to have shows like Dark and one of the Brad Wright shows, Travelers, that I thought were
that was so good.
Oh, but then it's just fallen off, and I haven't had a reason to go back.
Yeah, you know something? You just sorry to cut you off, but you'd got Travelers. That got cancelled after season 2, didn't it? And it was just getting good. Yep. We were just about to find out who the director was, and it was a quantum computer from the future. And then it was just coming to a head. Boom! It was done. The same thing happened with, I think it was Joseph Malozzi's Dark Matter. What was it, Joe Malozzi? What did Dark Matter?
Oh, Joe Malozzi's? Yeah, that's Dark Matter. That was funny.
Dark Matter was awesome.
That's when I first joined X, and I remember watching the show on Netflix, and I didn't realize at the time that when I was watching it, the show had already been canceled. So I got to the end of the season, I'm like, wait, thinking like it's like 24. That okay, I'll catch it on the network for the next season. And I started reading online. It's like, wait, this has been canceled. And I even commented to Joseph Malozzi that, hey, is this true? The show is canceled. He's like, oh yeah, no, it's canceled.
The thing is, with the writing on that show, I actually invested in the characters. I was rooting for them, even though some of them are rough diamonds. There were characters that, even though they weren't series regulars, they'd probably pop in once or twice per season. But you got an understanding. You came to know them, and the writing on that show, along with Travelers, was just absolute quality.
Yep, it was.
Yeah,
those were my 2 favorite shows.
Yeah, Dark Matter was great, but did you read Joseph Malozzi's tweet about Stargate? It was a little bit. It was a little bit.
Which one?
He worded it badly at the end. He did admit later that you weren't to take any stock of what he said last.
Oh, the 8th chevron. No, he wasn't implying that they're going to another galaxy. Although you could do that.
No. That's not what he said. That we're consultants only. We have no control. And the showrunner for the new one is Martin Gero, who did that horrendous Quantum Leap reboot. So I'm trying to stay optimistic, but I'm a little worried that the best people.
But Gero is one of the originals from Stargate, isn't he?
He was, and he got railroaded on Quantum Leap several times. In fact, the studio did a David Fincher on him with that production.
Okay, well, that's good news then. Like
yeah,
I said,
I'm not scared of that. Yeah, because the fact that Brad Wright and Joseph Malazzi are connected to it raised or alleviated any fears I had because of the amount of time that's passed since we've had Stargate. That was my biggest fear when Amazon acquired MGM is that, oh, okay, we're going to get, Wheel of Time and that sort of garbage. And with them on board, even if they aren't directly writing the show, if they're consultants, I have to believe that they're going to use their knowledge base, that you're not going to bring those two on and do something that's going to upset the fans. At least that's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, Amazon desperately needs a hit because they've swung so many times. They've had more misses than the world's crappiest baseball team.
Well, and think of the budget too. Remember, like the budget for Stargate at the time, compared to what they spent on the Lord of the Rings sequel or whatever prequel that they have, that they would spend $1 billion. If you could get away with a quality Stargate series, even spending $10 million an episode, just think of what they can do. That's why I'm excited about it, because if Amazon's got the money and they're willing to let them do what they're going to do, then it'll be great. If it's who's the former CEO, Jennifer Salke. If it's somebody that's inflecting like kind of with a Kathleen Kennedy, well, it's got to be X. Then I'm not very hopeful. Now she's not there anymore, and Stargate you can have where one of the theories I had is you can make Samantha Carter. She's heading up the Prometheus programs. Trying to tap into the Asgard technology where she can be a leader. She was already a leader in the show when it went off the air.
Yeah.
You could have, any number of the original characters do, they can be ancillary to the main show, and you can introduce new characters, which would be smart because then you have a younger cast that you can continue forward. My concern is how many episodes are they going to be able to drive? I think they're going to need more than 8, like you get with a lot of these streaming shows. They're not going to do 20 or 22.
No,
like network television. So
those
the
days,
happy medium
are way
is 10 to 12.
Us,
12 would be good.
15
because
would
then you
be
can
better.
introduce the characters, you can get invested in them, and hopefully they're on a schedule much like network television was, where we're not going to wait. We're not going to get season 1. Let's say it's the end of next year. We're not going to wait until 2028 to get season 2. That it'll be back next fall, and that every fall we get a new season, much like we did with the original Stargate series.
No mid-season breaks, because I think that's the worst thing they ever came out with. You lose that continuity, just as a show's getting some steam behind it. And that's the thing with this. I reckon they'll aim for around 10 episodes for a first season. Right.
Yeah,
that might be a safe estimate. 15 is optimistic, I think, Esther.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 10 would be a conservative estimate, but I mean that's beyond our remit at this point. We have no control over that, unfortunately.
Right. No,
so I think what they need to do, and I had an idea the other day. What if Sam Carter is now a lieutenant general? O'Neill, he's retired, blah, blah, blah. She's kind of took Homeworld on from where O'Neill left off. I think that would be a great continuation for whatever direction this story decides to go in. But we're kind of straying off the point now. But
it's a good tangent.
Oh, it is a good tangent. I'll give you that much. But I want to keep talking about Stargate, whereas I want to be talking about this.
Yeah.
Swappers, you're unusually quiet about this. How do you feel about Netflix trying to dominate the streaming sector?
Well, I don't subscribe to any streaming services at all. I've just used their trial periods occasionally. That was it. And I've not really followed up with any lengthy memberships for any of them. I think that there's always been something's always prevented me from signing up, and that was for any of them. Amazon, the terrible Lord of the Rings series, I just won't sign up for anything of theirs on principle. Netflix, the cuties thing, good Lord, there's no way I'm signing up for anything that they do after that. So Netflix buying out Warner Brothers now, it can't be a good sign. It's a monopolization. And it's just one company that's trying to buy up everything. They're trying to go for conglomerate status, like Disney or whatever. and we're going to see this state continue for a little while until these huge companies that own everything then start to make bids for each other, and then we're just going to end up with one giant one at the end of it, when no one can do anything about it, and all entertainment is owned by this one giant entity, and
a mega conglomerate of entertainment. Flav says in the chat, they already dominate the sector. The death of another major house will just stagnate the industry more, in his opinion. And I agree with that.
Well, did you hear the breaking news last week? Netflix actually put in a bid to buy Disney. They kept it very quiet and hush hush.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah.
Here's the thing: something fishy that we don't understand is going on, because Netflix has been very consistent in its positions over the past 10 years. We don't need to. We're not interested in theatrical. We don't need to own IP. We're good at what we do. We'll just keep doing it. And all of a sudden, it's a complete reversal of their motives and their MO to try to buy Warner Brothers. Something is hinky, and absolutely, I don't care what they say. They can talk about theatrical and physical media all along. If Netflix ends up buying Warner Brothers, you're going to see the death of physical media and theatrical releases in a matter of years, because it actually hurts their core business. Physical media hurts their core business. Theatrical releases, they think, hurts their core business.
This is terrible. If all these big whales start swallowing up the medium-sized fish, there's going to be no room for the little minnows to develop into bigger fish.
Exactly.
They'll be lucky to escape through the blowhole.
Thing is, though, it's all right having that market dominance, but if you're not giving people what they really want, you kind of become a nexus where you can control everything in a way that suits your narrative best. And I think this could be used as like David Marcus says in Star Trek 2, this whole acquisition could be used for something a lot darker and a lot more perverse.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And
they would control the market then from a pricing standpoint. It's already a problem. I mean, I think.
Netflix, they'll control media and news distribution. The whole and
that's why
their whole goal
that's
is
why I
control.
think it's a problem. Adam Gray made a great comment that I don't think we'll get a meaningful antitrust hearing. There really needs to be, because my view on the Paramount acquisition was going to be antitrust because of the television stations that CBS owns and the multiple cable channels that they own. Now, Discovery was going to be split off from Warner Brothers, but that separate entity, if, like you mentioned earlier, is almost, even if it has a value, which I think is going to be inflated, you're still going to have antitrust issues, because we can't have one company owning, let's say, I'm just going to pull out a number. Let's say it's 30 cable channels. Because I think the last time I looked at Warner Brothers, I thought there was something on the order of 15 to 20 cable channels that they have, with like the Discovery Channel and all the various channels that are out there. Netflix is the reverse with the cinema. And I think Drinker was making a comment earlier this week in just a short video that he posted about how the theaters are already having problems. And so if you're going to have shorter run films from the bad films that we have now, so let's say a film would only last for 3 weeks, and now I'm cutting it to 10 to 15 days, and then, or simultaneous streaming. Well, we already have the working example of simultaneous streaming, and that was Black Widow. Where it didn't.
There's a minute and a half left of the show, so can we?
Oh, I'm sorry. So we have that example. So I don't think the simultaneous releases is going to work either.
Right. Just finally, lads, physical media. I think it's never been more important than at any other time in history, like it is right now. We need to hang on to it with tooth and claw. Just quickly, guys, what do you think?
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you get a situation like where you ghost the show, you decide it's no longer politically correct, and it just no longer appears anywhere. Where if you have a physical copy, you can still see it.
This is it.
Yeah, if Netflix wins the bid, it will be the death of physical media.
Yeah.
And I think we need to hang on to it, because, like we said before, once they control every avenue of watching a thing, that's it. We are literally all screwed. It's either pay up or get lost. And I think now is a great time for kids to learn how to set up media servers at home and be your own Netflix. There's stuff like Jellyfin, and people have got access to NAS devices. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's about time everybody ought to rebel and, That's why piracy is becoming a big thing again, because of people like this. I want to thank everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you very much for contributing. We were getting a bit passionate and heated in places, so we didn't give you my full attention, but I did try. I want to thank Swappers for coming on tonight. Also, Istaphobos and the Oldest Gamer. Well done to Tom, who won our little bit of a Potnacker sweepstake. I just tried to put it up on the screen there, but it's not letting me do it. So I will see you on Tuesday for Just Great Movies. Have a great weekend. Next week, Trek December continues with Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. This one divides fans. It had a bigger budget, more special effects, but is it a good Trek? We'll let you and the panel decide next week. Tuesday, 16th of December, 9 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss out.